The government faces a shutdown at 12:01 Saturday morning. With the House of Representatives out of town, and no opportunity to negotiate, the Senate is now left with two options: pass the continuing resolution that came out of the House as is, or shut the government down. Chuck Schumer, Democratic leader in the Senate, changing his tune. After announcing on Wednesday Republicans didn't have enough votes to advance the bill, Schumer said he would filibuster the continuing resolution. That's what he said on Wednesday. On Thursday, Schumer saying he's encouraging Senate Democrats to vote for the stopgap measure in order to keep the government open. Chuck Schumer telling reporters while the CR, that would be the continuing resolution, while the CR still is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. He went on to say a shutdown would give Donald Trump and Elon Musk the keys to the city, state, and country. Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez now accusing Senate Democrats like Schumer of acquiescing to Elon Musk and calling it, quote, a huge slap in the face as well as a betrayal. It appears Schumer wasn't willing to shut the government down over a bill that funds our government throughout the rest of the fiscal year with just $8 billion in cuts that would punish the city of Washington, D.C., as well as community health care centers. It looks like the Senate Democrats, at least the leadership, they're eyeing the bigger fight on their hands, and that is Republicans aiming to renew Trump's 2017 tax cuts for the rich. Those are scheduled to expire on December 31st of this year. This is where I think Schumer wants to wage the battle. Republicans control the White House and both chambers of Congress. Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Leader John Thune, and Donald Trump have one obligation to their donors, and that is extend the 2017 tax cuts, which added roughly $8.5 trillion to our national debt. By the time Donald Trump left office the first time, he was responsible for nearly 1/3 of our nation's entire debt. This is where the battle between Schumer and Trump will be fought. And if it's not, I'm quitting the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders drawing huge crowds with his Fighting Oligarchy tour, hitting Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nebraska, turning people away. And even though Bernie's 83, it's a young 83. And quite frankly, I'm not so sure he's not going to run for president in 2028. Maybe not to win, but to remind Democrats the only way to defeat fascism is by offering voters an alternative to phony populism, and that would be real populism. For the first time in modern American history, Republicans in 2024 won the working class vote. I don't think shutting down the government over this continuing resolution, I don't think that's going to win back the working class vote. But the battle that comes after, fighting Republicans on tax cuts for the rich, if Schumer doesn't turn that into a battle royale, he can kiss the midterms goodbye. And Democrats will have to deal with Bernie Sanders again in 2028. Again, Bernie Sanders, I think he might be too old to get elected, but not too old to run. Right now, the Republicans want to give the richest 1% close to a $5 trillion tax cut over the next decade. They plan to pay for it by raising our debt ceiling by $4.5 trillion, which they have to do by summer. Otherwise, the government can't pay its bills, with or without a tax cut for the richest 1%. In order to give that $4.5 trillion tax cuts to the rich, they also need to find $2 trillion over the next decade to slash in order to pay for these tax cuts. And as Elon Musk has clearly stated, he's planning to slash Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. This is the battle, not the continuing resolution. The battle afterwards, the tax cuts. That's the hill Democrats are going to have to die on. During an interview on MSNBC, Chuck Schumer referred to Trump and his fellow Republicans as bastards, and then apologize. Meanwhile, the Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CAIR, is calling on Donald Trump to apologize for calling Chuck Schumer a Palestinian. This is not the first time Trump has called Schumer a Palestinian, using the word Palestinian as a pejorative. Trump once again accused Schumer of no longer being Jewish. Schumer, the highest-ranking Jew in the federal government, has previously called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to step down and urged Israelis to elect someone predisposed towards a two-state solution. After he said that, Trump said, Schumer's not a Jew. Trump said this week, and again, this is a United States president. We have some, not many, we have some Jews and some Arabs, not many, some Arab Americans who voted for Trump in 2024. This is what Donald Trump said, quote, Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian, unquote. Meanwhile, the Associated Press reporting that Donald Trump is planning the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. The Associated Press now reporting that Trump envoys have reached out to East African representatives from Somalia, Sudan, and the breakaway region of Somaliland to see if they would accept Palestinian refugees uprooted from Gaza. Trump's plan, which he has openly repeated, is to ship nearly 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza to, quote-unquote, a beautiful area. Sudan and Somalia might be beautiful, but they are not safe for their own citizens, let alone 2 million Palestinians. Sudan telling the Associated Press they told Trump, we're not interested. Israel's finance minister said this week that he is actively looking for African countries willing to take in Palestinians. This is ethnic cleansing. Donald Trump has repeatedly said he plans to seize Gaza from both Israel and the Palestinians, turning it into the Riviera of the Middle East. Members of the Jewish Voice for Peace staged a demonstration inside Trump Tower protesting ICE's detention of Palestinian protest leader Mahmoud Khalil. 100 Jewish protesters were arrested, removed from Trump Tower, and taken to a New York City jail that was filled with slightly fewer rats and bed bugs than they saw at Trump Tower. On March 11th, ICE arrested Mahmoud Khalil, a Columbia student who led Palestinian protests on the campus, especially during the spring of 2024 when New York City police were called in to disperse the crowd after they seized one of the buildings. Mahmoud Khalil is now being detained inside an ICE facility in Louisiana. Khalil is married to a U.S. citizen, 8 months pregnant. He is a permanent American resident who holds a master's degree from Columbia School of International and Public Affairs. Khalil faces no criminal charges and is being held entirely because of his political beliefs. There is absolutely no evidence that he is engaged in any illegal activity in his support of Palestinians. A judge has temporarily blocked Khalil's deportation. During a hearing in New York City, Khalil's lawyers told the judge that they have been unable to communicate with their client privately. Khalil was initially brought to an ICE detention center in Elizabeth, New Jersey, several miles away from New York City. He was then shipped off to an ICE detention center in Louisiana, 1,500 miles away from his pregnant wife and his lawyers. Amy Greer, Khalil's attorney, called his removal to Louisiana, quote, a blatantly improper but familiar tactic. She added that transfer should be reversed. She called on the judge to reverse the government's, quote-unquote, outrageous attempt to revoke legal permanent residence status for someone who has never committed a crime and who has simply expressed his political opinions. Federal agents on Thursday searched 2 dorm rooms at Columbia University. Secretary of State Marco Rubio accused Khalil of being a pro-Hamas supporter, but was unable to offer any proof. Axios now reporting the State Department is threatening to revoke visas for any foreign students deemed pro-Hamas. Meanwhile, Axios also reporting that ICE now telling Congress it's out of money and is $1 billion in the red. Well, stop arresting legal immigrants, a-hole. That's one way to save money. It cost $16 million for ICE to ship 100 migrants to Gitmo, $30,000 an hour for each migrant just to fly them to Gitmo. And now, because it's all about government efficiency, the Department of Homeland Security has announced it is emptying out Gitmo. No more migrants to be housed at Gitmo. They blew tens of millions of dollars shipping the migrants there, and now they're going to blow tens of millions of dollars bringing them back. Meanwhile, ICE saying it's maxed out all its detention centers and is unable to hold any more migrants. Reuters reporting 47,600 people are now being held, but ICE only has room for 41,000 people. Overcrowded detention centers. That doesn't sound like America. Oh, wait. It sounds exactly like America. When Kamala Harris was California Attorney General, the Supreme Court ordered her to empty out the prisons, empty out the California prisons of nonviolent offenders. The Supreme Court called the conditions inside California prisons cruel and unusual punishment in violation of our Eighth Amendment. Harris's office wrote a series of memos blocking the release of nonviolent prisoners, saying, quote, "We need nonviolent prisoners as a source of cheap labor." They need nonviolent prisoners in California because nonviolent prisoners can be trusted. Violent prisoners can't be trusted to get paid $2 a day to perform tasks like fighting fires. Nonviolent prisoners are a cheap source of labor in California. So the nonviolent prisoners in direct violation of the Supreme Court were not released. Kamala Harris later said she was unaware that such a memo came out of her office, adding she was shocked and dismayed. Harris is reportedly considering a run for governor of California. I support Katie Porter, who is running for governor of California. She's been on this show before. Meanwhile, Department of Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem was asked about children being rounded up by ICE, and she said, quote, "Children deserve to be locked up because they had a choice in the matter." Hard to believe someone so kind to dogs would talk this way about children. J.D. Vance and his wife were booed Thursday night as they attended an event at the Kennedy Center. Vance's wife is a U.S. citizen despite both her parents not being citizens when she was born here. She is, in fact, a beneficiary of birthright citizenship, something her husband calls one of the dumbest policies ever in American history. Trump this week asked the Supreme Court to uphold his executive order, which would begin the process of getting rid of birthright citizenship for anyone born on U.S. soil, no matter what their parents' immigration status was at the time. House Republican from North Carolina, Chuck Edwards, facing angry constituents at a town hall who began chanting, "Deport Musk." Elon Musk, of course, a U.S. citizen, despite coming to America on a student visa and violating the law by not attending school and instead going to work in Silicon Valley. Elon Musk, seen here flashing a Hitler salute, this week shared a Twitter post exonerating Hitler and blaming the atrocities of Nazi Germany instead on Germany's public sector workers. The president of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees of the AFL-CIO, Lee Saunders, said in response, quote, "America's public service workers, our nurses, teachers, firefighters, librarians, chose making our community safe, healthy, and strong over getting rich. They are not, as the world's richest man implies, genocidal murderers," unquote. Senate Democrats are demanding an ethics investigation into Trump's White House sales pitch for Teslas earlier in the week. Donald Trump publicly purchased a Tesla on the White House lawn, urging Americans to do the same. Senators Elizabeth Warren, Adam Schiff, Cory Booker, and Richard Blumenthal demanding the Office of Government Ethics issue a ruling calling Trump's sales pitch a gross violation of the law. Oregon police reporting shots have been fired at a Tesla dealership for what is now the second time in a week, as Tesla charging stations and Teslas continue to come under attack, with some Tesla owners saying they no longer feel safe behind the wheel. Well, it's a Tesla. You weren't safe behind the wheel before everyone hated Elon Musk. The Guardian reporting Tesla share price is now down 33% since February. The Financial Times reporting Tesla sent a letter to Trump's trade negotiator warning that the president's tariffs are having an adverse effect on the car company's sales. Elon Musk, wow, such a smart guy. He spent $300 million of his electric vehicle fortune electing the candidate who ran for president saying he was going to destroy electric vehicles. Talk about an efficient use of money. Elon Musk really has a lot to teach our government about wasteful spending. He doled out $300 million on the candidate who's in the pocket of big oil, the guy who said, "I'll destroy your company." And now he's president and he's destroying Elon Musk's company. So wise. Elon Musk, such a wise man. The United States stock market has entered correction territory as it fell 10% off its high this week. The price of gold hit $3,000 an ounce, a record high, signaling investors have little faith in the future of our economy. It hasn't even been 100 days that Trump's been in office. Hasn't even been 100 days.